Now let me turn to the budget itself. Certainly want to acknowledge Mayor Pro Tem Dave Martin, Dr. Purser standing here, Tandra Emo, who is the Finance Director. The proposed budget, I'm pleased to present the proposed budget for fiscal year 2021. The proposed budget for all funds total $5.1 billion. This is an increase of $62.2 million, or 1.2%. The proposed, and that's all funds, the proposed general fund budget of $2.53 billion reflects a decrease in spending by $22.17 million, or 0.09%, from the 2020 current budget of $2.55 billion. With regards to our sales tax, and I think there are some slides that are before you. Pre-COVID-19, the city experienced a modest growth in sales tax revenue in 2020, and we anticipated another conservative 2% growth in the year 2021. As a result of COVID-19, based on our consultants' midpoint, the city will be experiencing a cumulative estimated loss in sales tax revenue of approximately $107 million during both years 2020 and 2021. This, combined with decreases in other revenue sources, will have a significant adverse impact on city services. With regards to, and that's on the sales tax. So for both years 2021, we're expecting a decrease in sales tax collection of about $107 million. And then when you combine that with the impact of property tax revenue, of the revenue cap, it becomes an even more difficult for the city to move forward. The 2021 proposed budget is based on the existing property tax revenue cap, and depending on the taxable valuation, we may have to adjust our tax rate to comply with the property tax revenue cap. And what that means is that a higher taxable value may result in a tax rate reduction. In the year 2021 alone, the full impact of the cap will result in a loss of $187 million. And as you can see on the chart in front of you, even in this particular time, in dealing with the COVID-19 and all of the corresponding costs and expenses the city is incurring and the loss of revenue, because of the property valuations, the city will have to, under the revenue cap, will result in a loss of $187 million, which means that come September, the council members, we may have to adjust the tax rate down as to stay within the limits of the revenue cap. And since hitting the cap, to put it in some perspective, provide some additional context, since hitting the cap in the year 2015, the full cumulative impact of the cap for the city of Houston is $904 million. For the first time since taking office, in order to balance the budget, we are drawing down an amount from the general fund balance, which drops it below the required 7.5% expenditures, less debt service, and pay as you go. Since I have been mayor, we have always maintained a general fund balance of at least, well, 7.5, but quite frankly, it's been more than 8%, as you can see on the chart. The year 2021 ending fund balance will be 7.15%. That is below that 7.5, 7.15% less than 0.5% below the minimum requirement. And this equates to a $7.4 million reduction below the 7.5%. Per our financial policies, however, this is allowable in the event of economic instability beyond the city's control, which is where we are today. I don't think there's any question. with the advent of COVID-19, that these are some unstable times economically for the city of Houston, and so we will be drawing down below the 7.5% fund balance of about $7.4 million. For the 5th consecutive year, my annual proposal closes a budget gap. In this case, it is a gap of $169 million, which is exacerbated by the COVID-19 global pandemic. And this is primarily driven by contractually mandated increases, including police and municipal pay raises for the current meet and confer agreements, as well as health benefits and pension costs. Now, how does this budget propose to close the gap? $14.5 million will be generated in new revenue. And you will see within the budget, the council members will see a $10 million revenue increase for the digital signs, as well as the $4.5 million for the lease payment proposal for the garbage and recyclable bins, which we have been discussing around the city council table. There will be a deferment of the 5 police cadet classes that you've also heard me talk about. That equates to roughly $14 million. There is the zoo payment of $10.4 million, but I will tell you, based on the federal guidelines that we have looked at, that we can have that payment, that reduction transfer from the CARES Act, and that is what we will do. There will be a number of employee furloughs from the city of Houston. We anticipate that about 3,000 employees will be impacted from furloughs, going up to a maximum of 10 days within the year. That will generate about $7 million. There will be a few other deferments, department reductions, and then since I have been mayor, what we have done is every single year from July 1st, the beginning of the fiscal year, we have attempted to build up the fund balance as high as possible in order to draw down, to close the anticipated budgetary gap. In this year, for 2021, we anticipate doing the same, and so there will be a drawdown from the fund balance of approximately $98 million from the fund balance. This drawdown includes $15 million from the Budget Stabilization Fund, and additionally, this drawdown is possible because of better than expected 2020 results, including one-time land sale, which is already closed and the dollars have been placed in the fund balance, control hiring, and continued tightening of the belt as we try to build up the fund balance each year. To address this budgetary crisis caused by COVID-19, the city has undesignated the $20 million from the Budget Stabilization Fund. $15 million will be used to balance the budget, and $5 million has already been transferred to the COVID-19 Disaster Fund. What does this mean for the city of Houston? As we approach the hurricane season, it means that the Economic Stabilization Fund is down to zero, which places us in a precarious financial state for the upcoming hurricane season. And then lastly, unlike other municipalities, the city of Houston must operate under the property tax revenue cap while contending with the loss of revenues from COVID-19 in 2021 and possibly beyond. As we move forward in this budgetary process, we will continue to look at the federal guidelines to see whether or not additional dollars can be drawn from the CARES Act, not to cover revenue losses, but possibly to recover costs where employees were redeployed from their regular duties in order to do things for COVID-19. For example, where police were used or the firefighters were used to stand up testing sites, where the library employees within the library were redeployed to assist the health department in their needs. And so as we make these evaluations, it is very probable that some additional dollars may be able to be pulled from the CARES Act to be utilized in this budgetary process. It is my hope that Congress will provide the city, not just the city of Houston, but others, with even greater flexibility or additional dollars in order to minimize the financial impact that COVID-19 is having on budgets across the country. Having said that, we are presenting a budget that does balance, even in a very uncertain time. We are obligated to balance our books. We are doing that. We don't have the luxury of Congress where we can engage in deficit financing. And so this budget does balance. Despite the tough financial challenges, this budget provides funding for overtime for police, 3 cadet classes for fire, funding for parks, library, trash pickup, and upgrades to our drainage and streets. But it is a lean budget, and for me, it is the toughest budget that we've had to put together since I've been mayor starting in January of 2016.